Yo, what's poppin'? Have the final power rankings before the midseason tournament, and they're going to be combined because the teams are going to play against each other. So I may as well rank them together now. Above me is my power rankings from last week. It is split, so going to be a bit different. But yeah, so starting at number 20, the worst team in the league, I do not think I like their matchup into anyone, is the Paris Eternal. So Paris, uh, we were like, oh, they're starting to maybe look a little bit better. But the problem with that is, while that is true, every other team is also looking better for the most part. I guess some teams maybe have downgraded between stages and stuff like that because of meta or whatever. But every other team is also improving throughout the stage, and they all started higher than Paris, and Paris just aren't at the same level. It's even the bottom tier teams have a lot of threats that are able to make up for maybe a lack of structure or a lack of compete. I don't know however you want to say it. But Paris just doesn't have. They have no shooters. Really, they have no shooters. Um, I don't like losing Glister. Yeah, Dove is coming in, but Dove, while he's done like as expected or maybe even a little bit better, he's still done worse than Glister and is still probably one of the worst starters in the league. No, he's not like throwing. No, he's not a huge detriment to this team relative to the people around him. But he's not going to kick them up to the next level, right? Number 19, the Vancouver Titans. So we thought Vancouver maybe could get their win against Washington this weekend. Didn't quite happen. I didn't think it would happen either, to be honest with you. Aspire couldn't do more, and Mirror could not do less. And it's just going to take more than that to actually get out of the basement. Like, it's nice that they're improving. It's good that we're seeing real improvement from this team. But eventually, having a close series isn't going to be enough, right? Like, you have to win a lot of your future matches even to get out of the bottom three. Because who's going to drop out of the who's going to drop down to the bottom three so you can get into the play-ins? Your best bet's Washington, but you just lost to them, right? Maybe Toronto, if you maybe something like that. But you have to get these wins. Like, that was a must-need win. These wins are very important. You have to take wins away from those teams that you're trying to catch up to, and they weren't able to do it, and they're going to have to stay at 19. Number 18, going to be the Guangzhou Charge, the first APAC team I'm ranking on this power ranking, or at the worst one. The difference with Charge compared to Titans and Eternal is Choice A1 is probably one of the best DPS in this game. He is doing so much for Charge. Like, somebody please help him. Develop, he has times where he comes in, he has times where he's not there at all, and when he is there, it's very good, but when he doesn't show up, he really does not show up. Maybe one of the most invisible DPS in the league when he's not there. They also have Farway, I suppose, but Farway, even compared to like Game Engine, who will be coming up soon, no surprise there, I would hope, but he's not at that same level, I think. And the Charge have no team structure. They basically get maps. Alpha Choice A1. I think Choice A1 could definitely take advantage of the Vancouver Titans or the Paris Eternal, no doubt. Number 17 is going to be Game Engine and the New York Excelsior. So the difference between New York and Charge is they both have just star players carrying their teams, but New York has a triple threat of Yaki, Game Engine, and Flora, whereas Charge just really have Choice A1 and then like 2 tier breaks, and then like develop far away. So I think New York's more consistent gameplay here. Definitely gives them the edge over them. But the thing about New York is they don't really have the structure still. Kellen is still very inflexible. I still don't love what Mymbong's been doing this season. And yes, it's great that they finally have decided to put Game Engine on the Zenyatta, but now they don't have any more games where maybe that's going to be an option because the meta will shift going into next stage. Probably. Well, I'm not going to say it will shift, but there's a good chance it shifts with Junker Queen coming in and a whole bunch of balance changes and things like that. So maybe too little too late from New York on that front. But this team has the roster. We've been saying the whole time they have the roster to not be this bad, but it's not come together, and I don't know if it will. But right now, they're only getting wins off of their stars, which is kind of how it works, I guess. Number 16 is going to be the LA Valiant. So Valiant came off strong by beating Fusion early. But after that, they kind of did nothing, really. Basically 3-0s on 3-0 on 3-0 against them. They do get a 3-1 against Spark, I guess. But I didn't love the strategies No Hill was enlisting into this team. I don't like the DPS rotation as much. I feel like you're taking a Dia far too often when Dia's been your best player. The pickup on Molly was really good. Molly did look good, but between maybe too much Zarya gameplay, maybe too much Lucio Zen gameplay, it's just not been there. The strategies, I understand where they're coming from, but I don't think I think it's a little too crackhead. And I think forcing the Zarya and then playing Lucio Zen with it is a bit odd because he probably just lose to a default Zarya comp. It's okay as a counter comp, but it can't be your primary strategy. When if you have Sasson, it has to be, because as soon as they counter that, Sasson is stuck on that character. He's locked in. But you know, they're doing what they can, I guess. But I think they're doing too much. I think they're doing what they can, but they're doing more than what they should. Number 15, coming back to NA, the Washington Justice. So Washington, same story it's always been. You have Decay, you have Happy, you have a bunch of star players. You have Vigilante now. But you don't have team cohesion, you don't have good strategies, you just have good players. And it's not enough. It's never been enough. Valiant, the trend with a lot of these bottom teams is you have like Aspire, you have Choice A1, you have Yaki, and the Valiant are just have like good, decent team synergy, but they're doing too much with it, right? And then you're back to just star players with no real formation around them. I can't put Washington much higher. They're really a struggle team. They'll show up some matches. They'll do good some matches. They'll do poor some other ones, right? It's just Washington Justice. And we won't see them in this future tournament. We just won't. Number 14 is going to be the Toronto Defiant. Toronto have gotten better from the start. The start, they basically had no coach. Well, they did have a coach. They had Moby Dick, and that's not bad. But they basically ignored the balance changes going into the stage, and they had a really poor week 1 performance. They did turn it around a bit in week 2, where they started playing more Doomfist compositions. Still a lot of Sigma, but then more Doom, and now they're leaning more into the Doom again. But Hisu has been very good on the Sojourn. But I don't know. Toronto, there's something's missing with this roster. I don't know. I don't quite know what it is. I don't like how they have Twilight maybe on. I don't know. This is actually very difficult to say because the backline's been performing well sometimes, but this team's just been a little underperforming, and it's hard to put your finger on where it is, on what exactly is causing this team to go wrong. But something's not clicking. There's just not a click there because we see individual talent in every match. We see Hisu go crazy no matter what. The backline has pop-off moments that will give them map wins. It's just it really is a sad time to be a Defiant fan. Maybe they'll turn it around in this tournament, but they have a very tough path to get there. Number 13, going to be the Chengdu Hunters going back to APAC. So Chengdu had a very strong start, but when you look at it, they actually only beat Philadelphia Fusion, LA Valiant, and the Guangzhou Charge. They never got the wins against the big teams they needed. They had a good showing against Seoul early, but Shanghai and Spark, it didn't pan out. I did think they were looking really good, but whenever they actually started playing some real competition, and the competition like leveled up that same week, it just didn't come through. And I don't know. I feel like their game's a little one-dimensional in a way. They basically don't have a Sigma comp, right? They just all dive all the time. And while Jimmu Tracer has improved, it's still not at a top 10 level, right? Probably. It's good in APAC, but we're looking at everyone now. He's competing against, I don't know, who's like your Finale below him. Decay is below him. But those teams both have better Tracers. And Leaf has been very good. No doubt. No question marks about Leaf, right? But I don't know. Chengdu, maybe this is a little lower than a lot of people give them credit for, but I just, after that performance this week, and it's not like they really looked worse, right? This was just their level of performance. I can't rank them higher. I don't think so. Number 12 is going to be the Florida Mayhem. Florida has been kind of weird. They were, like, similar to Valiant, they were doing too much earlier in the stage. They were maybe flipping him around too often. And now they've played Xe more. They're leaning into Xe. I don't love it. I think Hydron was a better look for them. I still will remain solid on that. Maybe if their thought process is, Xe will make this team better in the future. Maybe that's real. Sure. But right now, it was not. I think it was Hydron all the way. I think he was one of the best Sojourns in the league. And I really dislike taking him out for Xe as much as they have. I think Surma Jed and their backline's lethality has been kind of nerfed to the stage because it's a lot harder to get the value out of the playstyle they wanted. So that's why they had to shift away from their identity. Good looks for Florida, though. Checkmate has played very well and consistent this stage, I thought. And they're by no means like a bad team, but they're not on that next level yet, and they don't have that team dynamic to get there in this tournament, I feel. Number 10, it's going to be the Boston Uprising. So Boston has actually looked better and better as the stage has gone on. They had some weird compositions with the Sigma May Lucio weird rush thing. They've decided to finally move off of that. Crimzo has stepped into his own on Zenyatta. He's been there the whole time, but he's really there now. He's really stepped up. And it's nice to see Boston perform this well. Unfortunately, kind of similar to I don't know, some teams like New York, some teams like Chengdu. Too little, too late. You can't get into the tournament like this. You're 4-8. Your poor stage 1, followed by your inability to clean out maybe some map 5s. Makes it out of top 10. No Itzel. Itzel is finally not getting gameplay, but like the fact that Itzel got so much gameplay for so long was really bad. And I don't entirely trust them still, to be honest with you. But steps in the right direction. We'll see what they do next stage. Number 10, the London Spitfire. So London take a bit of a tumble as they finally face an opponent that's above them, basically. The other teams they beat, taking a quick look at it, hold on, is Washington, Paris, New York, Toronto, and Florida. And they finally have played a team that's maybe in the top half of NA, and they lose to Dallas. So Florida or London looked really good, but their schedule has been quite easy. And you know, their rush is good, but outside of the rush, they really should not be getting map wins on the dive. And yeah, they did get one against Dallas, but they're really a one-dimensional team. So yes, Poco Sigma is viable, but the maps where rush is viable and the maps where teams would like to play Sigma overlap quite heavily compared to the ones where they want to play dive. And I think whenever there are map picks in this tournament, London's going to suffer the greatest, probably because they are very one-dimensional in what they will win on against the good teams, I think. Number 9 is going to be the Dallas Fuel. So Dallas never really found themselves. They still haven't. It's like you see the potential there. You see how they're getting their wins, and you see like the baseline of it. But we haven't seen the Dallas Fuel that has really made a composition their own, maximized it to the full effort, and has committed to being the best at something. And we just haven't seen it this stage. It's quite hard to look at this team and think, yes, this is a top contender for this tournament, because the results they put out, they're getting wins, but they're not getting the dominating wins. They're not showing the Dallas Fuel that has been successful. Maybe they'll find it into the tournament. As of right now, they haven't. They still haven't. They beat London. Very good. You beat London. You do lose them on dive, which is so questionable. But I don't know. Dallas, I'm not going to count them out. They're not there, though. Hangzhou Spark are coming up next. So Hangzhou had a pretty rough start to this stage. They finally do bring it back in this final week. They beat Chengdu and Valiant. But before that, they had lost to Seoul. They had lost to Philly. And they beat a Shanghai that didn't know what they were doing in the first week. They have found themselves now, though, and they look damn good doing it. Shy, insane. Alpha Yi, insane. Bernard has finally locked onto the Doomfist. Locking on the Doomfist is so good for this team. The Bernard ball was not the answer. And letting Gouchway play again, huge, massive. Because you cannot rely on Bernard on the Winston maps. Because you just can't do it. He's not good enough at the ball for that. Gouchway played well. This team has finally found, like maybe he was off training in the mountains or something. They found their results that they were looking for. And this team has peaked right before the tournament, which is exactly what you want. Number 7, also peaked right before the tournament. Philadelphia Fusion. So Philly's going to be above Spark based on, you know, they did beat them the week before. And they take down the Seoul Dynasty 3-0. And MN3 has a monstrous game. Maybe one of the best Ashe performances we've ever seen in Overwatch League. Just phenomenal stuff from MN3. And he's really solidified himself. Not even solidified. He's entered a top rookie conversation. Before he was before last week, I was like, he's been all right. He's been solid, but he's not been great. I think he has been. Like, that was a great match. If he continues to keep that up, he will be there. But I cannot put them higher, or I cannot put Fusion or Spark higher, just because of how they actually performed the other 2 weeks. Like, they were really not playing up to par. If this was done the week before, they would have been pretty solid. They would have been maybe like Defiant level. Like, they were playing like that level, but they have really amped it up. And I'm choosing to put a good amount of stock into those 2 matches, just because of how dominant they played. Number 6 is going to be the Houston Outlaws. So Houston, number 6, putting them above Fusion and Spark again because of their consistency throughout this stage. They've been honing their craft for much longer than Spark and Fusion have. They were trying to figure out what they wanted. And Dante on the Doomfist coming out, remaining one of the leading Doomfist players whenever more people are playing it now. This team is, however, a bit one-dimensional, similar to London. I think they can counterpick the maps that they want. Their lineup with Piggy has not nearly been as successful as it has been with Dante, so teams will probably try to get Piggy in as much as they can, and I don't feel comfortable putting them higher than number 6, and number 5 being the Atlanta Reign. So Atlanta lose to Houston, but it was a very close series with a C9 at the end, right? And they have more flexibility in one role than Houston. They have Hawk, who has even played the Reinhardt. He's played the Sigma. He's the Doomfist guy. And Ryan's flexibility really does make them better than Houston, I think, especially going into the tournament. And yes, while this is my power rankings going into the tournament, this is not my preds for the tournament. I'm not going to pred whoever's number 1, right? I'm probably not going to pred them to win. Maybe I will. I haven't done it yet. We'll see. Because this is like what we've seen, not what I think will happen, right? But yeah, so Atlanta Reign, between Kai being probably the best Sojourn. Never sub him out, please. Subbing him out against Houston was so troll. I never want to see him subbed out. But they do have the flexibility. They have different looks that they can play. OG and UV still are a crazy backline. And yeah, they were 7-5, but record's not everything, right? And I do think Atlanta will be a threat. They're always a threat going into any tournament. So number 4 is going to be the Shanghai Dragons. Not quite in that top 3 territory. Shanghai, another team that struggled to find themselves for a week. They do find themselves later, but they're on the wrecking ball only. So a very one-dimensional team here. Maybe I honestly should have put them below Atlanta, thinking about it, but I don't want to separate them from Houston too much either. I think they're okay there, but really they are just a wrecking ball team. That's okay because I don't know. It's Shanghai. It's very hard to count them out. They are very clutch still. They still have Fleta's been playing great. The whole team's been playing great. The only limitation on this team is how far can they go with Wrecking Ball being their composition of choice. That's it. We don't see a lot of Sigma. You don't see that at all. You just see Wrecking Ball. Is that the best composition to one trick right now? I don't think so. There are points on maps where he struggles, but it's going to be close because they have the Winston look too, I suppose. It's not all Wrecking Ball. It is Wrecking Ball Winston. Between the two, they should be good enough to be able to play anywhere, I think, barring like some like Circuit Royale, of course. But Void can come in comfortably and play that. So I think Shanghai there is good. It'll be interesting to see. You can never count them out, right? It's Shanghai. It's just Shanghai. But I think there is a solid difference between Shanghai and Shock, which are number 3. So the argument to be made here that the Shock could be higher, but I don't feel comfortable taking down the other 2 teams at the top, the 2 winning teams, right? No spoilers there. It's Gladiators and Seoul in the top 2 spots. This seems very good, and their gameplay is very dominant. They're not giving pity maps. They're just doing what they're just playing the game, right? They're just playing well. Well, they are giving pity maps actually because Mikey's been playing more. But Mikey being added to this roster really does give them another dynamic area where they'll have a very solid ball player in and then Kalush can do everything else. There's no glaring weakness on this roster unless you want to say, oh, they don't prefer the Sojourn as much. That's not really a weakness, I think. It's more so a playstyle choice because we see a lot of APAC teams prefer the Ashe, right? We'll see MN3 on the Ashe. You'll see Shy on the Ashe, whereas you'll see more teams like Kai, Atlanta Rain and Kai on the Sojourn, Merit on the Sojourn. We'll see which of those two win out. I have a suspicion it will be the Ashe, but Shock kind of in with the APAC wave. If they say Sojourn's not broken, not the one. I don't know. I like it. I like Shock, but I like the LA Gladiators number 2 a little bit. I like Gladiators a little bit more. I will take that away now too. Hard to go against the Gladiators is, again, there's no real glaring weaknesses. They were maybe not they were a little shakier going into week 1 than the Shock, but after that, it's just been like neck and neck, right? And they have won. They've proved they can win in 5v5. The flexibility is still there, but it's been less apparent. We've seen more Doomfist comp than not from LA. But, Shu and Skewed, maybe the best backline. Kevster's had a crazy MVP performance. He's continuing to keep that up. And it's really hard to really bet against the Gladiators. Yes, maybe you can say Shock has looked more dominant in some of their matches, but the Gladiators will always win, right? Gladiators will find the wins. And they don't ask how, they ask how many, right? Gladiators, I don't really have any doubts for them going into this tournament. And it's similar to Seoul Dynasty, who has been top notch. Yes, they lose to Philly. I'm not too concerned about that. I wouldn't be surprised if they were being a little slack going into that last week. They just rest up a little bit. You don't have to super grind it out. I could put them below Glads and Shock, or just below Glads off of that, but I'm choosing not to put that much stock into it. Vindame has been nuts on the Zenyatta, has been astounding. Smurf can still play everything you ever want and do it very well. His Sigma has just gotten better and better. They've decided when they want to play the Sigma better as well. I thought they were maybe playing it too much for Smurf being in, because yes, he's very good at the Sigma and he's solid on it, but he's still probably better on his other characters, right? I don't like playing it as much as you can if you don't have to, but solid there. And between Prophet and who shouldn't need any more explanation than Prophet, right? And Stalker, who has been great on the Sojourn and fits on the Ashe, it's really hard to find anything wrong with Soul. Yeah, they've played some Sombra sometimes, but sparingly. Vindame going back to Vindame, he really has been one of the best Zenyatas and main supports in this league. As a main support going into the Zenyatta, you would not know. He has been the best main support on flex support in the league, I think, and it's really hard to find that, because Gladiators even will have to sub in Funny Astro when they want maybe a Lucio. That's about it though, because you have Skewed in for break, but yeah, I don't know. So there's my power rankings. This is not. I'm not going to pred Soul to win the tournament. Maybe I haven't done it yet. I might, but power rankings and preds not quite the same thing. We'll see. But yeah, this is going to be my power rankings combined. If you're interested in the split ones, you can do that yourself. You can see, you know which teams are which. So yeah, like this video if you like it. Let me know down below which of my takes are really bad and really horrendous. Subscribe for more daily Overwatch content. Thank you so much for watching and have yourself a good one.